Yep. So my name is Andy Burton, and I'm a product manager at Pryon, focused on our ingestion and retrieval aspects of our product. Pryon is a software product that allows enterprises to access, understand the information in their content stores, retrieve over that with high fidelity, and then create generative and agentic applications over that content. Think like a SharePoint with Word docs and PowerPoints. So my remit is really to focus on effective extraction of that content from the system of record, from a SharePoint, for example, pull really rich information on all the context that's there in that content, allow for retrieval over that content for all our downstream applications. So I first came upon Temporal when my company Pryon was looking for a new workflow manager for our ingestion engine. So for us, the ingestion engine takes content from a company system of record like SharePoint, provides really rigorous information extraction on that content, and prepares it to be utilized by our platform. We had a developer on our team that had used Temporal at a prior firm, so that's really where the awareness came from. And then this was a really core strategic initiative for our firm in terms of improving our ingestion engine, a core aspect of our product. And so we scanned the market, evaluated 4 leading contenders in the market. When we did that assessment, we found that Temporal was the most scalable, the most performant in short, and the most flexible in terms of being able to fit our existing services. So for those reasons, we decided to utilize Temporal. Our firm was facing challenges in terms of we'd hit a ceiling on the performance of our ingestion engine. So the code that performs ETL on content from business systems. And effectively that ceiling was we needed greater scale than our existing workflow manager would provide. Fundamentally, we're limited by that workflow manager. And additionally, we needed more robustness and reliability. So those were the 2 core needs that we were hitting against from a business value perspective. From a more tactical developer perspective, we then needed the ability to manage complex workflows. We needed a very powerful and performant workflow manager that could provide that foundation and scale, and we needed flexibility to meet our systems. The effects that Temporal had on our team and business, there were a number of them. So first of all, and most importantly immediately to us, was the ability to scale. We'd fundamentally hit a limit in terms of our prior workflow manager, where that was the limiting factor on the scale and throughput of our system. With Temporal, that was no longer the case. It became decisions we made in our code, or simply how much compute we wanted to throw at the problem at a given time. And the workflow manager was empowering the whole system and not providing a blocker. Second, and critically, it gave us the ability to have a lot of flexibility on top of a workflow manager. So previously there were design and implementation decisions that we couldn't make because we were constrained by the workflow manager we were utilizing. Temporal alleviated that issue. Third, we wanted the ability to manage more complex workflows, write and manage effectively more complex workflows. And so Temporal provided that level of control that contributed to our system design, resilience, and robustness. And then finally, fourth, Temporal was highly robust and performant with things like retriability, while providing that scale, that flexibility, and the ability to design those more complex workflows. Our initial use case for Temporal at Pryon was an update to our ingestion engine. And we were updating the workflow manager powering that ingestion engine. So it's really a core strategic component of our platform, something that every user utilizes and feels that feeds everything downstream of it within our application. When I say ingestion engine, what I mean, it's taking the content from a company system of record, think SharePoint, Confluence, etc. It's performing ETL in that content, so extract, transform, load, which really is just finding the most rich version and accurate version of the information in that content possible. And so in our case, that typically means things like, obviously the text itself, but there's also metadata from the document, metadata from the system of record, things like permissions. There's also things like embedded images and figures, pulling out the content associated with those images and figures, and things like reading order. And so are you actually capturing the layout on the page, the correct reading order? And that's across various system of record and various file types. And so it's a highly scaled, critically important, highly complex aspect of our systems. Choosing a new workflow manager for that was really critical. And after an assessment, we decided to go with Temporal. Our initial use case at Pryon of Temporal went pretty smoothly in the sense that we deliberately started with an assessment, then a prototype, and then effectively in a scaled development implementation, then pushing forward to prod as one typically will. But with Temporal specifically, there was the open source version, of course, and self-hosting and a bunch of information out there. So that first prototype, we just picked up ourselves and totally ran with. We could do our assessment through that. We could build that strong prototype in an initial version, which was great. At which point, we decided to utilize Temporal as a managed service, which gave us access to the Temporal team. And so, there's a ton you can do on your own as we found with the prototype, but we found it extremely valuable when getting into more nuanced, scaled production use cases to have access to the Temporal team. So things like utilizing various languages, passing across various languages, et cetera, in terms of our workflows. So that really took us to this strong development version with the help of the Temporal team and input on specific capabilities available in our architecture. From that, we were able to easily progress forward into a production deployment. The impact of adopting Temporal for our use case in the simplest form was twofold. So first of all, I'd mentioned earlier that we'd hit a fundamental ceiling on how much we could scale with a different workflow manager we were using. With Temporal, we were able to blow through that ceiling, and the workflow manager was no longer the limiting factor. So we were able to scale according to our goals and no longer had the workflow manager as a limitation, but rather a core foundational enabler as we work to scale. That's the most immediate and important thing. Second, also critically important is robustness. And so does the system perform? How many failures does an end user see or perceive? And we found immediate impact there as well in terms of Temporal, how it allows you to architect workflows, how it allows you to do things like retries. That very much flowed into performance and impact very quickly in our system. Those were our two highest level foundational end user goals as we implemented Temporal. The most valuable capabilities for our team as we implemented Temporal were, first of all, in terms of being a robust workflow manager, it truly is performance. So it provides that critical foundation. It takes that problem off our devs' plates and runs underneath everything we do smoothly, scalably, et cetera. That can't be overstated in terms of the most important overall objective. Second, we found that we wanted to write more complex workflows than we'd been able to with alternative approaches. So that was highly valuable as we were able to bring more aspects of our pipelines into workflows, which improved our overall system performance. Third, we found the ability to control and manage effectively prescriptive inputs and outputs to workflows, how workflows were nested, et cetera, to be highly valuable for system performance. Things like when and how do you retry, when do you not, et cetera, providing our devs a ton of control in terms of the solution that they wrote overall on top of that scalable foundation that I'd mentioned. And then finally, while doing all those things, Temporal is highly robust and performant again. So it's something that enables you, something that's not distracting you, providing you flexibility as you build. In terms of success metrics I can share with Temporal, our overall objectives in the simplest form were twofold. So it's really scale and robustness. From a scale perspective, our throughput for our system increased effectively 10x from when we switched to our prior approach and workflow manager to Temporal. So we saw that immediate jump in terms of our early production prototype, or our early production version that we've got right now. Second, in terms of robustness, I don't have hard metrics for you, but because of various underlying Temporal features like retriability, we saw an instant increase in robustness effectively. We can see that anecdotally already, but are currently measuring that in terms of system performance. So a few pieces of advice that I'd give to teams looking to utilize Temporal from our experiences, I would divide into two different phases. And so first, in terms of kind of initial discovery of Temporal and prototyping, I think if you haven't gotten started, it's open source, obviously. You can self-host it. It's super easy to pull down Temporal, utilize it, get comfortable with what's there, and really understand the base capabilities and how they'd apply to your use cases. So that's just from a starting point perspective. And then if you're like us, where you're doing something highly complex that needs to scale dramatically, be performant, fully secure, all the rest, we found it really valuable to utilize Temporal as a managed service. That gave us access to the Temporal team, in addition to the community, et cetera, and documentation we already had access to. So as we were getting to utilizing Temporal with various languages and interacting with a lot of our services, thinking through nuances for a scaled design, we found that really valuable. And so I think that that's something that other teams can utilize if it makes sense for them and their given use case, on top of being able to run for quite a long time on your own, just with what's out there.